At this height, calm often begins as a visual impression, not a guarantee. Highland life survives through precise responses to small changes. Morning begins with checking before it becomes labor.
Diosa manchay.
Kay konyiwan kalpachaway.
Warmth must be stored early because the mountain will demand it later.
Tukuy alinmi, kalpawan ruaska.
Reliability begins as a practiced touch.
Kay hampikuna orkopi hawawasun.
Small stores teach a household how much risk is worth taking.
Some danger begins below and rises quietly.
Alin punchay. Imaynalam kachkan.
Ari, ancha chica. Livestock care begins with reading conditions before movement.
Height here is not scenery. It is a condition every task must negotiate. The first wonder of the place is also the first warning.
Inti kakata kanchay kuptin, llantub chaupimpi imainarakashan.
Mountain knowledge is often about reading surfaces before touching them.
Smoke depends on consistent air more than people think.
Lankaita kalarisun. Nyapachana.
Endurance is often first visible in the choreography of work.
Protection begins before visible instability begins.
Once outside the village, effort begins spending safety.
Thin air and narrow paths make caution a physical rhythm.
Alinta kahawaitis. Kakatalankaitis. Kamkunak uywanyanta.
Collective labor begins by dividing risk before the mountain does.
Kay sirkata linta kawana.
Ari, askami chikunatian.
The cliff offers value only through precision.
Uhuman. Wainakunata wakaichay.
Herd stability on difficult ground depends on geometry, not force.
Apukausakmi, mishkata kawai.
The first change is small enough to be mistaken for nothing.
Moisture can arrive as a surface condition long before it arrives as weather.
When humidity changes locally, even familiar techniques start behaving differently.
Animals often read humidity as altered scent before humans read it as altered risk.
Amanya, risun, utkay.
Good mountain judgment often appears as subtraction before crisis, not reaction after it.
Uskayla, michikuna. Pachakunyirichkan.
The window of safe labor has just become shorter than the day.
Uskaya, apuraichis.
Not all instability comes from force. Some of it comes from changed signals.
Urgency at altitude cannot afford to look like panic.
A ledge offers no room for uncertain timing. Sustainable harvest begins with what is intentionally left behind. The cliff always offers more than the body should accept. Instability often begins as hesitation, not panic.
A surface can become less trustworthy without ever looking dramatic.
Taking only abandoned material protects what will return.
Sorting materials on a cliff is also sorting what the return can safely carry.
Expert, moisture does not need to flood a task to destabilize it.
Researcher, maintaining pattern becomes more important than maintaining pace. Herd instability often gathers around the vulnerable pair first.
Kailakepi uywakunaka turu kachkan. Kawarina.
Confusion can spread through a herd before fear becomes visible.
Amaña. Imaymana kakuanus kaita uraikamui.
Enough often arrives as a command before it feels complete.
The mountain is creating danger in more than one place at once.
Apuraiches! Kipi!
Aliyay, chaypi, hamuchis.
Expert, protecting one animal often begins by protecting the pattern around it.
A thin film on rock can be as dangerous as a storm no one saw.
On a ledge, doubt in the surface becomes fear in the body immediately.
Expert. Stabilizing a herd under sensory disruption requires redirection, not force.
Descent on altered rock is a second labor, not the end of the first.
Protection often begins by deciding which instability to stop first.
Amalakicho kalikachkanchik.
Stability returns when motion is redirected, not crushed.
Alinta hamui. Kusa, masnirak.
Rhythm saves the body when the surface stops being honest.
May sumak, ay muraiku. Enough has replaced more.
The return begins by securing what risk has already cost.
Ali chukachkan.
Ari, wakaichaska. Hakuchik.
Kunanka alin mikachkan.
Scarcity sharpens care at the level of the knot.
A longer route is often the wiser one when local moisture has begun rewriting the terrain.
Order becomes shelter when the environment grows uncertain.
Tactile memory becomes crucial when surfaces stop feeling familiar.
Kusa, rikchaiches.
Protection is often spacing made intentional.
Speed helps only when structure survives it.
Kaita, sumakta, amalaki kuicho.
Small crossings become harder when trust in the surface has already been weakened.
Fatigue after a narrow escape often arrives quietly. Home first returns as the possibility of steadier ground. Thresholds reveal communal strength in practical form.
Sumaktika, ama mancharikucho. Kaipi kespichasakanki.
Recovery begins with enclosure, calm, and
Samaikusun wauki.
post-stress care begins by calming the senses and the body together.
Harvest becomes real only once it reaches the house.
What comes from the cliff must quickly become useful inside the house.
Heat after exposure feels less like comfort than restored control.
Returning alive matters only if the night can also be held.
Hidden damage must be checked deliberately after visible danger passes.
Material survives by changing purpose.
Ajaymantaj chay qaytukunaqa chakiska kachkan.
Kaywaskaka machuña, ichakakawarikusun.
Tools return, carrying tomorrow's maintenance.
Safety has a sound, the settling of bodies.
Alin mikai wiraka. Wakai chasun. Storage is judgment made visible.
Kaitaka wakai chananchis.
Sweetness deepens when it is measured.
Honey here is medicine, energy, and memory of risk.
Amayakikucho. Kaimiski hampinaka kaliachisunki.
Every successful harvest leaves a trace on the body.
Mountain life is a chain of adjustments, not a single dramatic event.
Utkayman Quechua pamuichis, chirinmi. Feed security is future herd security.
Survival often looks like prevention, repeated in small gestures. In harsh landscapes, the deepest lessons are often brief. Maturity here often means understanding why a less was the wiser return.
Endurance is often first archived in objects, not in explanation.
Juk is kai pikasan kichik.
Final counting after a hard day is relief measured carefully.
Imainalla, warmacha, samaikusun.
Some days end well through the smallest signs.
Utkaichis chirirachkaña.
Mountain villages do not rest by stopping. They rest by tightening.
Storage is a promise made against uncertainty.
Repair is how tomorrow becomes less dangerous than today.
Tutakatakna.
A village often knows it, endured by the sounds that remain regular at night.
Vigilance lingers after danger, because memory lingers in the body.
The path to risk remains after the labor ends.
Kunan tuta, kaina pacha kuchiska kasan.
Ari chainaka, alinta kawakuna.
Approval in laboring communities rarely needs display. Experience is often stored as remembered thresholds.
Waste is a privilege this altitude does not allow.
Chunkulanyam, puñuichis.
Expert. Final checks narrow uncertainty enough for sleep.
Alilanchu wawai.
Relief in the mountains is often verified by touch. After every hard day, the village still has to face the night as a whole.
Continuity is the true monument of subsistence communities.
The mountain remains immense. The village remains exact.
Endurance is not spectacle. It is repeated alignment with place.
They did not take all the mountain offered. They took what the body, the herd, and the surface could bear. On these heights, enough is a profound achievement.
Survival at altitude is not miracle. It is disciplined limitation.
Aswankasi, Takmampurina.
The route to danger remains part of tomorrow.
Place is the first character in all Highland labor.
Behind these walls, tomorrow is already being prepared.
In the high Andes, surviving one measured day is no small thing.
They did not conquer the mountain. They stayed with it carefully.
Endurance is a relationship with scale. Their work disappears into night, but its effects remain.
Kaikuñininaka ancha linmi.
The village remains small. Its discipline does not. Survival on these heights is not spectacle. It is the discipline of reading a changing surface early.